大家好，我们来讲一下特斯拉刚刚发布的财报。我们之前讲过，今年和明年应该是特斯拉比较困难的2年。这个季度的财报好像告诉我们，它的苦日子好像终于来到了。这个季度它的收入只增长了 9%， 而运营利润下降了 50% 以上，运营利润率也终于跌到了 8% 以下，跟一般的车厂几乎差不多。自由现金流相比去年同期也下跌了 70% 以上。其实这样的成绩，如果是看他一家作为电车厂的，而且卖的现在很多是低价车，这个成绩已经算是不错。只不过是很多投资者可能对他的期望过高，所以我估计对他股价不是好消息。但我们之前都是说过，这家公司它要做的就是非常便宜的低价车，要走量，因此它的利润率绝对不会超过 5%， 甚至在未来1-2年它的利润成为负数我都不会奇怪。当然管理层为了股价还要把故事讲好，因此如果你去听电话会议，你会听到大段的几乎是做梦的时间，我把它称为梦想时间。那么来听一下它梦想时间的内容。
Next question is, do you have an approximate timeline in mind for the robotaxi, driven or non-driven? What excites you most about how this project is progressing?
Well, the robotaxi is necessarily non-driven. I guess I'm very excited about our progress with autonomy. The end-to-end, nothing but nets, self-driving software is amazing. It drives me all around Austin with no interventions. So, it's clearly the right move. So it's really pretty amazing. And also that same software and approach will enable Optimus to do useful things, and enable Optimus to learn how to do things simply by looking. So, extremely exciting in the long term. As I mentioned before, given that economic output is number of people times productivity, if you no longer have a constraint on people, effectively you've got a humanoid robot that can do as much as you'd like. Your economy is quasi infinite, or infinite for all intents and purposes. So I don't think anyone is going to do it better than Tesla, not by a long shot. Bus dynamics is impressive, but their robot lacks a brain. Sort of like the Wizard of Oz or whatever. It means. Yeah, lacks a brain. And then you also need to be able to design the humanoid robot in such a way that it can be mass manufactured. And then at some point, the robots will manufacture the robots. Now, obviously, we need to make sure that there's a good place for humans in that future, and we do not create some variant of the Terminator outcome. So we're going to put a lot of effort into localized control of the humanoid robot. So basically anyone will be able to shut it off locally, and you can't change that. Even if you with like a software update, you can't change that. It has to be hard coded.
Thank you. The next question is, why was the price dropped on FSD if it is getting better and robotaxi is expected so soon?
Well, we just wanted to make it more affordable, so more people could try it. I think over time the price of FSD will increase proportionate to its value. So I would regard the current price as a kind of a temporary low.
Thank you. The next question is again on FSD. Mercedes is accepting legal liability for when its level 3 autonomous driving system Drive Pilot is active. Is Tesla planning to accept legal liability for FSD? And if so, when?
Well, there's a lot of people that assume we have legal liability, judging by the lawsuits. We're certainly not being let off the hook on that front, whether would like to or wouldn't like to. So,
I think it's important to remember for everyone that Mercedes' system is limited to a few roads in Nevada and some certain cities in California. It doesn't work in the snow or the fog. It must have a lead car, marked lanes, only 40 miles per hour. Our system is meant to be holistic and drive in any conditions, so we obviously have a much more capable approach, but with those kind of limitations, really not very useful.
No, I think some people understand the profundity of the Tesla AI system, but very, very few. It's basically baby AGI. It has to understand reality in order to drive. Baby AGI.
Thank you. The next question on Optimus. Will Optimus be working on Gigafactory lines next year? If so, how many would you guess will be deployed?
I think at this point we are not ready to discuss details of the Optimus program, but we will provide periodic updates online. So as you can see, where Optimus a year ago could barely walk, and now it can do yoga. So a few years from now, it can probably do ballet.
Sounds good. And the last question from investors is, neural net path planning represents a significant advance in capability and safety for FSD. What steps is Tesla taking to make this technology available outside the US?
Yeah, our approach has been to try to get it, the more places we try to make it work, the harder the problem is. So the reason we don't do it in all countries simultaneously is that it would take much longer to make it work anywhere at all. So that's why it's currently just North America. And also for most parts of the world, you have to get approval before deploying things, whereas in the US, you can deploy things at risk, or at least take liability for what you deploy. So whereas most countries require some sort of extensive approval program. So we only want to go through that extensive approval program when we think it's kind of ready for prime time in that country. I apologize if it's not in those countries, but we keep finding ways to make it better, and it needs to drive. It needs to drive such that it exceeds even unsupervised, significantly exceeds the probability of injury of a human. Or significantly better, a lower probability of injury than a human by far. I think we're tracking to that point very quickly. Obviously, in the past, I've been overly optimistic about this. The reason I've been overly optimistic is that the progress tends to sort of look like a log curve, which is that you have kind of rapid initial improvements, and that if you were to extrapolate that sort of rapid, fairly linear rate of improvement, you get to self-driving quite quickly, but then the rate of improvement curves over logarithmically and starts to asymptote. That's now happened several times. I would characterize our progress in real-world AI as a series of stacked log curves. I think that is also true in other parts of AI, like LLMs and whatnot. Series of stacked log curves. Each log curve gets higher than the last one. So if you keep stacking logs, eventually you get to FSD.
马斯克当然长期对自动驾驶是很有信心的。他在电话会里面就表示说，自动驾驶在我们家附近什么问题都没有，用得非常舒服。只是他有个细节可能忘了跟大家讲，我之前讲过马斯克传，书里面就披露他自己家其实周围有一条线是非常模糊的，自动驾驶完全不能识别，几次差点出车祸。因此马斯克特别恼火，让他的团队想通过算法来解决这个问题，但是团队表示技术完全达不到。最后实在没有办法，他的自动驾驶的这些电脑奇才们想出来的办法，就是在半夜联合了一帮人，把马路封锁之后，人工把这条线重新画过，这样才能让机器正常的驾驶。这就是马斯克为什么觉得在自己家驾驶自动驾驶完全没有问题的原因，基本上属于自欺欺人。他当然知道他现在讲的自动驾驶其实是人工的通用智能，机器人可以帮我们做一切的工作，这样呢，人类经济呢就会进入一个无限发展的阶段，因为发展就没有上限了。而且这些机器人具备了巨大的智商，还不伤害人类，所以呢，我们可以把他的这个想法看成黑客帝国的一个喜剧版本。但自动驾驶的故事已经讲了好几年了，现在有越来越多的人逐渐意识到这个故事可能要讲不下去了，因此分析师 提的一些问题也现在比较有水平。比如说其中有一个人就问，他说如果你觉得自动驾驶马上几个月就实现了，那干嘛你现在还要给自动驾驶的这些购买者要降价呢？马斯克就只能简单回答，我们是想让更多人来用，这种降价是暂时的，未来我们还会把价格重新提上去。还有一个人就问，他说你的竞争对手，比如说像德国的奔驰这些公司，他在做第3级的驾驶辅助，但这些车厂就愿意承担责任，说如果是真正驾驶出了问题，车厂愿意承担一切损失。那特斯拉的自动驾驶讲得这么牛，是不是也可以同样对客户做出承诺呢？他的回答也不置可否，只是说我们跟别人的方法不同，我们做的是人工的通用智能。还有人也问到，现在这样的所谓的特斯拉的自动驾驶在美国之外什么时候可以实现，可以有更多的软件的收入？马斯克就讲，这个暂时不现实，因为在美国之外需要很多实际的测试，以及这些国家通常都会需要公司得到许可，而只有在美国你是可以先做了，最后有问题再解决，因此不能指望 FSD 在美国之外给特斯拉带来多大的收入。还有一个问题，不知道是不是开玩笑，有人就问，那你工厂里面明年会有多少个你现在正在做的这些智能的机器人可以代替人工来生产？马斯克当然没有给具体的数字他只是开玩笑说，我们之前可能是走，现在可能是做瑜伽，未来几年之后这个机器人也可能去跳芭蕾舞。总体来讲，这些技术离真正实用还有几十年的距离，所以呢，我把这个称为梦想时间。这些东西听听就完了，它对特斯拉基本面没有真正的影响。像自动驾驶一样，我不知道机器人 AI 这些故事马斯克还能讲多久。当然电话会议很长，也有一些有内容的东西我们要注意，比如说他就提到了下一代的低价车到底是怎么样，我们来听一下。
The next question from institutional investors, could you please provide an update on capacity expansion plans for companies' factories in Berlin and Austin, and the opening schedule of Gigafactory in Mexico?
Berlin and Austin factory, the current priority is actually to maximize the output from our existing lines by laser focusing on efficiency improvement. As always, maintaining a high quality and reducing per unit cost will be as critical as growing the production volume. For Mexico, we're working on infrastructure and factory design in parallel with the engineering development of the new production that will be manufactured there. That's all I can share for now.
In Mexico, we're laying the groundwork to begin construction and doing all the long lead items. But I think we want to just get a sense for what the global economy is like before we go full tilt on the Mexico factory. I'm worried about the high interest rate environment that we're in. I just can't emphasize this enough that for the vast majority of people, buying a car is about the monthly payment. And as interest rates rise, the proportion of that monthly payment that is interest increases naturally. So if interest rates remain high, or if they go even higher, it's that much harder for people to buy the car. They simply cannot afford it. And we are tracking, I believe, at this point for Model Y to be the best-selling car on Earth, but not just in revenue, but in unit volume. If you compare that to the other vehicles that are, number 2 and number 3 and whatnot, they cost much less than our car. We're just hitting law of large numbers situations here. I know people want us to advertise, and we are advertising. I think there is something to be gained on the advertising front. I don't think it's nothing. But informing people of a car that is great that they cannot afford doesn't really help. So that is really the thing that must be solved, is to make the car affordable, or the average person cannot buy it for any amount of money. Or they simply can't afford it. They can't afford it. So this is a big deal.
市场对特斯拉的下一代的低价车寄予厚望，但现在非常不明确。马斯克就表示，墨西哥工厂他们是很有信心的，是长期，但是呢，他现在担心宏观经济，担心消费者的购买力有问题，因此呢，他对这个工厂什么时候真正量产不很清楚。原先很多人估计会在2025年，现在看起来至少要推到2026年，而且像我们之前讲的，它可能先会在美国生产， 有了规模之后，然后再挪到墨西哥。这应该是一个有很大变数的一个事件。下面就谈到它的 Cybertruck 以及4680的电池。
How many Cybertruck deliveries do you anticipate for 2024?
It's difficult to make an accurate guess at this point. Going back to what I said earlier, that the ramp is going to be extremely difficult. Like I said, there's no way around that. If you try to if we just try to do some copycat vehicle design, of which there are literally 200 models that are slight variations on a theme in the combustion engine world, just distinctions without a difference, then it's really not that hard. But if you want to do something radical and innovative and something really special like the Cybertruck, it is extremely difficult because there's nothing to copy. You have to invent not just the car, but the way to make the car. So the more uncharted the territory, the less predictable the outcome. Now, I can say that if you say, well, where will things end up? I think we'll end up with roughly 250,000 Cybertrucks a year. But I don't think we're going to reach that output rate next year. I think we'll probably reach it sometime in 2025. That's my best guess.
Thank you. The second question is, can you provide a progress update on the 4680 cell, particularly progress towards performance improvements and cost savings outlined on Battery Day? Thank you.
Sure thing, Martin. 4680 cell production in Texas increased 40% quarter over quarter. Congrats to the Texas team for producing their 20 million cell off of line 1. Texas is now our primary 4680 facility. We're heavily focused on quality. Scrap is down 40% quarter over quarter. With the increased volume and yield improvements, cell costs consistently improved month over month within the quarter, although we have a lot more work to do to achieve our steady state goals. And that is our priority. The Cybertruck cell, with 10% higher energy than our Model Y cell, started production on line 2 in Texas. This quarter, we convert to building 100% Cybertruck cells to simplify and focus the factory as we ramp all 4 lines in phase 1 over the next 3 quarters. Phase 2 of the Texas 4680 facility is currently under construction. The additional 4 lines incorporate further capital efficiencies over phase 1, and our target is for them to start producing in late 2024. Lastly, in Cato, we're retooling to enable large-scale pilot runs of our next-generation cell designs. Cato's long-term goal is to be the launchpad for new cells.
这个产品当然会比较快，因为他们已经拖了几年了，应该下个月就开始发货。但是马斯克估计，即便量产之后，1年可能只有25万辆，对公司整体的帮助不大。而且他还表示，不管是量产还是实现盈利，都极为的困难，而且非常费时间。他具体的表述是，至少是从今年年底开始算18个月之后，也就是说，可能要到2025年的下半年甚至更晚，才会真正实现量产并实现正的现金流。至少这2年对特斯拉的营收是有负面影响的，这也是我觉得它的利润率会进一步下降的一个重要原因。讲到电池呢，4680电池生产虽然进步很大，但是仍然工艺上有问题，现在还没有达到真正量产的指标要求。这个产品呢多次跳票，现在看来发展很困难，主要原因一方面是由它电池科技，更重要原因就是马斯克个人对这个产品设计要求独特，因此单独为了这个产品就要重新设计很多新的工艺流程，这就导致时间很长，而且难度非常大。特斯拉未来2年都会通过大量的降价来促进自己的销售，原因其实非常简单，就是它其实有很大的需求问题，没有人想要真正的电车。我们听一下管理层在这方面的表述。
You said in the commentary that you're not going full tilt on the plant in Mexico until there's signs that the economy is strong. Can you continue at a 50% CAGR without that plant? And where would that come from? And any color on what you mean sort of not going full tilt? Could that plant get delayed indefinitely? Or what are you kind of talking about?
No, we're definitely making the factory in Mexico. We feel very good about that. We put a lot of effort into looking at different locations, and we feel very good about that location. And we are going to build a factory there, and it's going to be great. The question is really just one of timing, and there's going to be a broken record on the interest front. It's just the interest rates have to come down. Like if interest rates keep rising, you just fundamentally reduce affordability. It is just the same as increasing the price of the car. So I just don't have visibility into. If you can tell me what the interest rates are, I can tell you when we should build the factory. We're going to build it, and I mean, I think we'll start the initial phase of construction next year. But I am still somewhat scarred by 2009 when General Motors and Chrysler went bankrupt. So, well, that's now 14 years ago. That is seared into my mind with a branding iron. Because Tesla was just hanging on by a thread during that entire time. And when we closed our financing round in 2008 at 6 p.m. December 24th, Christmas Eve, and if we had not closed that financing round, we would have bounced payroll 2 days after Christmas. So we actually closed that round on the last hour of the last day that it was possible. Stressful, to say the least. And then barely made it through 2009. So I'm like, I don't want to be going at top speed into uncertainty. A lot of wars going on in the world, obviously, as well. And we have room here, like in Giga, Texas. You said we still have it in this building. It's not full with Cybertruck and Model Y, and there's plenty of growth opportunities still to have inside the building where our team already is. We also have 2,000 acres here. There's also a bunch. We're actually only occupying a tiny corner of the land that we have. But we could technically do all the scaling necessary just here. Personnel is our biggest challenge in that the Greater Austin area only has, generously, the Greater Austin area only has 2 million people. So people are moving here, and they're willing to move here, but there's somewhat of a housing crisis. They got to live somewhere. So I don't know. I mean, I'm just curious. I'm not saying things will be bad. I'm just saying they might be, and I think Tesla is an incredibly capable ship, but if we need to make sure, like, if the macroeconomic conditions are stormy, even if the best ship is still going to have tough times, the weaker ships will sink. We're not going to sink, but even a great ship in a storm has challenges. Now, that storm will apply to everyone, not just us, and not just the auto industry. It apply to everyone, I think. So apart from necessary sort of staples like food and stuff, but so I don't know. If interest rates start coming down, we will accelerate.
All right.
Anybody's got any guesses on this? I'd love to be less wrong. And I apologize if I'm perhaps more paranoid than I should be, because that might also be the case, because I have PTSD from 2009, big time. And in 2017 through 19 were not picnic either. That was very, very tough going. So, the auto industry is also somewhat cyclic. It's because, people tend to hesitate to buy a new car and if there's uncertainty in the economy. So it's, car companies do very well in good economic times, and they don't do as well in tough economic times. So it's just, whereas if somebody's selling bread, then I think, that people still need to have bread. Yeah. Yeah, you need bread. You need food all the time. But new car, you don't have to have bread to minute.
Especially if there are wars going on, and then that impacts your sentiment.
Yeah. If people are reading about wars all over the world, buying a new car tends to not be front of mind.
针对自己卖车困难，马斯克讲了很多的原因，他主要是抱怨鲍威尔，说你把利率上升得太快了，导致老百姓购车的成本上升，这当然是事实，但这是所有车厂甚至所有公司都面对的实际情况。而且现在其实经济并不差，消费者对真正喜欢的东西购买力还是没有问题的，但马斯克就用了很多之前的理由，比如说他说自己担心现在的情况像2009年一样会突然变得很差，因为他看到银行现在发贷款比较谨慎，很多消费者有很多的信用卡贷款，让自己生活非常困难，甚至他连上周刚刚开始的中东战争都作为消费者不愿意买特斯拉的一个重要理由，实在让人难以置信。他最后表示，只要利率如果有下降，我们会加快速度，但我觉得这个主要应该是他的一个借口， 在这些借口之下，其实最严重的就只有一个问题，那就是你怎么去考量市场上对电车真正有需求的人到底有多少。特斯拉早期的成功当然是一部分美国人比较有钱，又比较喜欢高科技，那这些人就构成了他的第一梯队，让这家公司可以第一阶段成功。但现在特斯拉每年的销量有100万以上，那只靠这部分人就不够了，他必须在普通大众里面找到一个群体，对电车特别喜欢，愿意买特斯拉的车。但现在我觉得他们应该感觉到，这部分人即便有，可能也会比较少，而且对价格非常敏感，跟他第一波的客户非常不一样。因此很多人都被迫要修改自己对特斯拉未来的预期，包括他的管理层。他讲到2024年增长的时候，
Current sell-side consensus assumes that Tesla will deliver 2.3 million vehicles in 2024, representing 28% growth versus 2023 guidance. Is this growth rate achievable without any mass market launches in 2024? And when does Tesla expect to return to its 50% long-term CAGR?
Thanks for the question. When we look at 2024, there are a lot of moving pieces. Elon just talked about what is happening in the macroeconomic environment. So we're focused on growing our volumes in a very cost-efficient manner and are carefully reviewing all our options, and we'll be able to provide a much more meaningful update at our next earnings call.
Yeah, I mean, the risk of stating the obvious, it is not possible to have a compound growth rate of 50% forever, or you will exceed the mass of the known universe. But I think we will grow very rapidly, much faster than any other car company on Earth by far.
新的 CFO 就表示，他现在也不知道以后可能会公布，但是之前所谓的 50% 的增长现在肯定是不算了。马斯克只是表示 50% 的增长不能持续，但我们会比一般的车厂要增长快的很多。所以呢，这就是特斯拉这个季度的财报以及电话会议的主要内容，这些都没有超过我们之前的预期。大家如果有兴趣，欢迎去看一下之前我讲的特斯拉的内容，包括对自动驾驶的评价，希望对大家有所帮助。好的，视频不是投资建议，谢谢，再见。